Hello everyone. This video is going to give you a demonstration on how to create a frequency table and then a histogram from that frequency table using Excel. So we again have our baseball statistics Excel file. And again, we have a lot of statistics here. So we are going to use the sacrifice hits and bunts column to create our frequency table. So the first thing we need to do is figure out our minimum and our maximum. And looking through this, you can probably figure it out. But if you have a table that has a lot more data, the easiest way to do it is to create your, let's just give you some labels. We'll do minimum, maximum. And then you can do it one of two ways. You can either just type the formula in, or you can use the formula toolbar, the function tool. So if you click this FX up here, it's going to give you a formula builder. So we're going to search for minimum or min, which shows up right there. So then you can click it, and then what you get, it's going to automatically fill it in, but we don't want it to go all the way down to 35 because that has our league average and our league totals in, and we don't want that. So we're going to just redo it, and we're going to start at 32. And we're going to go all the way up to the top to A3. And if you notice, Excel changed it so that it's AB3. Instead of 32 to 3, it's 3 to 32. Excel always puts it in ascending order, no matter how you highlight it. And then you just hit done over here or hit enter, however you want to do it. And it'll tell us that our minimum is 0. If you don't want to use the formula builder, that's fine too. Let's delete this out. And all you have to do in your bar at the top is hit equals, and then you type in min, parenthesis. Now go and again select your data. So AB32 to AB3. Close it with a parenthesis and hit return. And you'll see again we have our minimum of 0. To find your maximum, it's the exact same thing. You type in equals, and you don't have to type it in the bar. You can actually type it right into the cell, except for now we're going to do max. And we're going to type in the same range, AB3 through AB32. And then we're going to close the parentheses and hit enter. So we can see that my minimum is 0 and my maximum is 15. Now I'm getting an error message here. So what it's telling me is that the formula is omitting adjacent cells. So we're going to ignore this error because what it's telling us is that we've got numbers in cells AB33 and AB34 that we're not including. And we're doing that on purpose. But Excel is trying to say, hey, you missed 2. Are you sure you wanted to not include those? So we just ignore this error and do it again up here. So now we know our maximum and our minimum values. So what we're going to do here is now we have to decide, okay, what classes do I want to split this up into? We could do, let's do by 4s. So we've got, let's go to our next sheet. And we're going to do classes, and Excel calls these bins, so we'll do both. So we're going to do 0, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 3 is going to be our top. 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we've got bins of 4. All right. So those are our 4 classes that we're going to look at. You don't have to do it that way. If you wanted to, you could do them differently, but I just try to keep my bins being even. And so we've got 4 numbers that are in each one. So now what we're going to do is create the frequency. And I'm going to give you guys 2 different ways of doing this. So the first way is simply building the table on our own. So we've got our frequency. So what we want to do is we're going to again use that frequency or formula builder, and we're going to search for frequency here. It's really nice. Excel's got all these fun little formulas for you, and we're going to insert that function. So now it wants us to insert a data array. So what's our reference? So the data array is a set of values that we want to count the frequencies in. So we're going to go back to sheet 1 without clicking out. So Notice that it puts frequency sheet 1 because it knows that we're going back to the previous sheet. And we are again going to, sorry about that, go back to sheet 1. It doesn't want me to do this. We'll get there eventually. All right. Sheet 1. All right. Not sure why it keeps going back to sheet 2, but here we go. AB 32, because we want to again do our sacrifice hits through AB 3. That's what we wanted. Sheet 1, AB 3 through AB 32, so it's going to look through that whole column. And then my bins are these 4. So up to 3, from 3 to 7, from 7 to 11, and then from 11 to 15, or 12 to 15. And then you hit Control, Shift, Return, or hit Done. So if you're using the formula builder, you have to hit Done. So there they are. Or if you're going to just type it all in, let's just redo it. And if we type it in and don't use the formula builder, equals frequency. And then we come back to sheet 1, sacrifice hits all the way down. And then we want our array. We don't need to do that there. We just need those. So if you do it that way, okay, it gives you sheet 2. I think that's fine. And then close the parentheses. Here's where you need to hit the Control, Shift, Return. Sorry about, I need to do, there we go. Nope, that's not right. Try this again. All right, so equals frequency, my data array, sheet 1, AB 5 through, or AB 32 to AB 3, comma, my bins, close that up, and then hit Control, Shift, Return. Why it's not working, I'm not sure. Let's try this one more time. All right, so if we do it this way, frequency, data array, sacrifice hits, there's my bins, close it up, there we go, and then hit the Control, Shift, Return, which you have to hit because we're making it an array, and then it'll automatically put these lovely little brackets in there. I didn't need to change that. So, so that's 2 different ways you can do it. You can use the formula builder or just do it typing it in. So now we've got our frequency. Next, we need our relative frequency. So relative frequency is simply taking, sorry, I like to make these look nicer. I'm just gonna center all that stuff. Relative frequency is taking your frequency and basically figuring out the percent, but without changing it to a percent. You're just doing the division. So we know that up to 3 happens 15 times. So how many total did we count though? So if we go back to sheet 1, we've got our min and our max. So let's find our total count. And again, Excel's got a formula for this. On smaller sheets, you don't have to use the formula, but it makes it easier to make sure you're doing it correctly. So that formula is called count. So simply just do equals count. And then we don't want to count those 2. We want to count from AB 32 to AB 3 again, and then click Done. And we'll see that we have 30 total that we counted. All right, so our relative frequency is just a simple division. It's our equals function divided by take our frequency, divide it by 30. You can do it that way, or you could do your frequency divided by, if you want to get a little more snazzy, sheet 1, AB, what is it, 38, and then hit enter. We shouldn't be dividing by 0. No, not sheet 2, we want sheet 1. There we go, same thing. So either way, and then if you drag both of those down, you should find that you're going to get the same. Oh, if you do AB38, you have to make sure that you cell reference them so that it never changes. So you have to put $ in there. We don't want the column to change, nor do we want the row to change. So that way you're gonna, if you do it with that, you have to put those absolute references in there. And if you just put the 30 in there, it doesn't matter, it's not gonna change. But you'll see that we find the same things. So we get about 50%, 33%, 10%, and 6% if we're looking at actual percentages. And then we need to do the cumulative, whoops, relative frequency. All right, so we're gonna get rid of those. We're gonna wrap this text to make it look a little nicer. All right, so cumulative relative frequency is taking your current bin and adding all the bins that come before it. So our first one is simply equal to our relative frequency. But then our next cumulative relative frequency, cumulative means it builds, is going to be our current relative frequency, and we are going to add it to the previous cumulative relative frequency. So if I were to ask you what % of our teams had 7 or less sacrifice hits or bunts, you would tell me about 83%. So then we just fill that formula down. Again, to fill it, you need to make sure your cursor has the dark filled in solid cross. And you should find that at the end, you get to a 1 because that means we're at 100%. So if we asked how many of our teams had 15 or less, you would tell me 100%. And then these down here are just over 15, which we don't have, so we can just delete those out of there. And that's an array, so it's going to stay in there. But it's not a big deal when we're looking at that. So that's how you create the frequency table. From here, we create our histogram. So what we can do is we're going to go into Insert, and we could just do a recommended chart, and it's going to tell you right here we've got this, but we don't want 3 things. We just want the frequency. So if we highlight the frequency and then come to recommended charts, here's what it's going to do. And that's easy. That's all we need. Now, the one thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to adjust this histogram a little bit. So notice my horizontal categories are 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we want 3, 7, 11, 15. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and see where it says select data, or you could come up here and do select data. And we've got our Y values. We want it to be series 1, but what we could do is we could make this, instead of B2, let's make it B1. And what does that do? Wow. Let's try this again. Actually, let me redo this whole thing. If we select all of that, now let's go insert our table. Now it's got that frequency as your title. So if you select that frequency, it puts it as its title, unlike before. And then what we're going to want to do is we're again going to want to select data. And our horizontal axis, we want that to be this class bins title. So notice how it tells me up there what it is. And then we click OK. Whoops, that was not exactly how we wanted it to go. let's try that again. Select data. Let's go back in here, and instead of 2, let's go, or instead of A1, let's go A2. There we go. So now we've got 3, 7, 11, and 15. Some other things you can do, if you just right click, or you can come up to add chart element. So we can give our axes titles. So our horizontal axis, and then you just double click on it. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. There we go. So we add, let's do that again, add your axis title. We're gonna go horizontal, and we're just gonna double click, and we're gonna type class or bins. So that tells me that we're looking at up to 3, from 4 to 7, from 8 to 11, and from 12 to 15. Some other things we can do, we can add data labels. So we can put them inside at the ends. We might want to format those so you can see them a little bit better. So we can do font, change it to maybe white. So that makes them easier to see. You can format where those are. Like if you look in here, data labels, you can put them in the center. You can put them at the end. You can put them at the beginning, wherever you want. It just gives you a little bit more information so that you know exactly what we're looking at. This one's not bad because we've got frequencies. Our scale is going by 2s, so it's pretty easy to tell if it's in the middle. We're at 15, and here we don't have partial numbers. We only have whole numbers, so it's really not a big deal, but that's just something for you to think about for future use if you have a bunch of, or a huge scale where you've got, you know, you're going by 50s or something like that. So that's one way you can create a frequency table and all that lovely stuff. All right, the other way. So if we come back in here, we are going to create our bins again. We're going to do a class / bins. And again, we're going to go 3, 7, 11, 15. All right, so I had you download the data package or add in the data package. If you haven't done that, go see the previous video. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click data analysis, and we're going to create a histogram. So we've got all of these. We've got ANOVAs, correlations, covariance. Some of these you'll find that we'll be using throughout the class, but we're going to start with histogram, and we click OK. All right, so here we go. My input range is not correct. So we want to go back to our sacrifice hits. So again, we're going to go AB3 all the way down through AB32. All right, and then we click this little button to bring our input box back up. And our bin range is not correct. We put our bins down here. And let's click that button to get us back. So now it's got the output range. We don't want our output to be at E11 because that's right in the middle of our table. So we're going to do a new worksheet. Okay. And then we want a chart output. And then we click OK. So what that does, and we just hit cancel. And there we've got our frequency table and our histogram already. So we didn't have to do some extra stuff. But notice down here it created a new sheet. So that's sheet 3. So I'm going to move that over here. You do have to now go in there and do your relative frequency and the cumulative frequency. Sorry, cumulative relative frequency. To make sure I get that right. We'll wrap these texts. Go back home. Wrap it. There we go. Same way as we did before. Equals our that. I'm just going to divide by 30. Move it all the way down. Frequency, relative frequency, cumulative. So we're going to do equals that. equals our relative frequency. Now we're going to do equals our relative frequency plus our previous cumulative. Enter and then fill down. And you'll see we got the exact same stuff here as we did here. Everything else is the same, except here we already have that this is our bin on the bottom. Again, you can adjust, you can do any sort of, just go to chart design, you can change your elements, you can add elements, you can switch the way it looks, you can switch all of those lovely things. You can change the colors if you don't like blue, make it into an orange one, however you want, but there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. Something you can change, because when you use the data analysis package from the data tab, you're going to get that more in there, and obviously we don't have any more than that. If you don't want that in there, I believe we can, again, go to chart design and select data, and my Y values, we just drop it down to B5 instead of B6. And then we've got the one less. So I hope this video helped you figure out how to create a histogram. Again, you can do it with using Excel formulas, or you can do it using the data analysis add-in, whichever way is more comfortable for you. So hope everyone's having a great day, and I will see you in the next video.